So, Ruben Amorim spoke to the press earlier today, talking about, the all important, all action, do or die affair between Manchester United and Olympique Lyon. And him and Maguire were in front of the cameras and they talked about things like Zirkzee with regards to injury updates and Onana, and obviously the Europa League lifeline. Now, with Manchester United set to face Lyon in the Europa League quarterfinal, second leg, Ruben Amorim and defender Harry Maguire took questions from the media. I mean, from team news to Champions League aspirations to both, to all of the injury updates and Onana. So stay tuned as we dive deep and basically break down all of the conversations that went on in that press conference. So welcome to the press conference review. And both men deliver their honest and revealing responses, right? Now, the first one is Joshua Zirkzee with regards to injury updates. Joshua Zirkzee, Amorim didn't hold back when asked about the forward Joshua Zirkzee, confirming that the striker's season is over. Zirkzee is out for the season, so he's not going to play more this season. So let's prepare him for the next one, or for next season, as the case may be. Obviously, it's a huge blow for Manchester United's attack because Zirkzee had already just begun showing real promise, and his absence reduces United's flexibility in the final third. I mean, he's kind of like an X factor for the team, right? And Amorim will now have to rely heavily on Rasmus Højlund, and in the league, probably on Chido Obi. And based on what we saw in the training footage, Brian and Gabriel Biancheri. That's the last one. Even to look, as I said, at the youth in this crunch period. Obviously, we have very crunch ties coming up, and obviously this game between Man United and Lyon is a season-defining game. And after that, we might probably just be preparing for next season, right? Now, Amorim was very definitive in this next point of the press conference on when he was asked basically which goalkeeper will start on Thursday. Onana starts versus Leo. That is what Amorim says. But obviously, he's still under review, under the microscope, as the case may be. When he was asked, he just simply said Onana will play tomorrow. But the manager admitted that the decision to bench him against Newcastle is both tactical and psychological. Sometimes, this is what he said. Sometimes we talk about managing players physically, and we have to manage them also mentally. Then he said that we have 1 weekend. He had 1 weekend off. Now he's ready. Basically, Amorim was very clear with balancing performance and confidence, right? Onana's form had been patchy, but obviously Amorim has said that Thursday's performance could also define how he is perceived for the rest of the season, or if United will go shopping for a new goalkeeper, which I will bring further down the line when we're analyzing the press conference about the questions that were being asked to Amorim for him to answer and all of that. But yeah, I mean, he was being pressed further on whether Man United will sign a goalkeeper, but I'll talk to you about this one further down. But don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United. Now, Maguire was asked a question about the team and all of that. And he said we must take responsibility. That's the highlight of Harry Maguire's conversation. He said candidly about United's underwhelming season and the pressure heading into the Europa League clash. I mean, from my own point of view, I felt that we could have made it easier for ourselves without having to, go into the tie and make it harder for ourselves in that regard when it comes to the Europa League. But I thought we could have even won that game easy and then come home and then take it easy and try to beat Lyon. But it wasn't to be. So it is what it is, and we found ourselves here. So he said it's been a disappointing season. We've been far too inconsistent, and there's key aspects in the game where we players have to take more responsibility. This is what Harry Maguire said. Maguire's words reflect a growing ownership in the dressing room, with Premier League top 4 race long gone already. He knows this competition is now United's only chance at redemption, or Man United's lifeline to have a season that, as in to go through this season with a trophy, to avoid being a trophyless or having a trophyless season. And then winning the Europa League still matters. That's another aspect of the press conference. And he said, "Oh, despite the league struggles, Maguire emphasized the value of finishing the season with silverware. He said winning the Europa League would be a special trophy. It gives us access to the Champions League, and that's important for a club like Manchester United." Yeah, obviously, how the mighty fallen. It was expected that Manchester United would have basically done well in the Champions League, but under Ten Hag, we lost in the Champions League. Now we're in the Europa League, and then we still basically, I mean, last season, right? And then this season, we're still basically still kind of struggling. I mean, the mighty are fallen, or genuinely. Now, United's legacy is built on trophies. Obviously, um, we ended last season with a trophy, 2 seasons ago with a trophy. Then I won 2 trophies in 2 seasons, and Man United almost going to the third. And even in the subpar season like this, winning in Europe can reshape the narrative and secure Champions League football, which is also vital for squad building, especially with the money that has to come with the Champions League. And then with Champions League budget and being a game changer, Amorim made it clear that United's summer plans hinge on Thursday's result and the broader European campaign. Champions League can can change everything, but budget-wise, planning-wise, if we don't make it, then we will use the time to rebuild. But of course, we want to be here. We want to be in the Champions League. We want to win, right? Then he's basically being very honest, and it is very refreshing, and he's being very realistic. Without Champions League football, summer signings and preseason plans will look very different. But he's only coaching for now. He's not only coaching for now, but also focused on the project of the next phase or the project of the future. And then with regards to decision making behind the scenes, Amorim gave insight into how he and his staff, including goalkeeper Jorge Vital, make decisions. Because he was being asked about, oh, what happens with regards to making decisions on the team and blah 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 blah. And he says, I always talk to the staff. Then I imagine the game, but in the end, it's my decision. Then basically, Amarim was trying to say that obviously he would have conversations with the staff, have conversations because they were talking about, oh, picking Onana. Did you have to make decision? Did you have to think about it and all of that? And he said, no, he has conversations with the staff and everybody's involved. He relies on data. He relies on instinct and consultation. I mean, that blend shows a modern, thoughtful approach, something that United had arguably lacked in recent seasons, right? So, and with regards to squad updates, Amorim gave injury updates across the squad. He says Matthijs de Ligt will return before the end of the season. He had an injury against Forest, I think. And then Aiden Heaven out after you know a training knock because he had a clash with one of his teammates, and it was at the same spot where he had the previous injury. And then we have Jonny Evans back in training, but is unavailable for the game against Olympique Lyon. So, and the training footage also showed that Jonny Evans went through the gauntlet, he's back in training and all of that. But yeah, we need him for this crunch times so that people like Lenny Yoro and Nusa Mazraoui would have time to rest. And then obviously, finally, it will be on Amad Diallo. He could return in May. It was seen in the training footage that he was training away from the squad, away from the team, and he was apparently doing well, it seems like. And it got fans really excited. United's injury list is slowly improving, but the depth is still fragile. I mean, we still have Toby Collier still injured and all of that. Having De Ligt back soon could also be a very timely defensive boost, even though we would have needed him for this game, but it is what it is. Does United need a new goalkeeper? This was the question that was asked, and that's the question that we're looking at in this section. It says, I don't know why these media guys, these journalists, always want to get something out of the head coach or create chaos in an all-important game. Instead of to ask stuff about the game, instead of to ask stuff about what is expected of Man United and all of that. You're asking him questions like, oh, be honest with me, do you need a new goalkeeper? Like, I'm just really, really, really perplexed and annoyed, you know, basically, that why the journalist would be asking that specific question. Be honest with me. Do you need a goalkeeper? Do you need a new goalkeeper in the summer? Like, Amorim was very diplomatic, basically. He said we need to improve every position. Andre already proved it that he's a top player, right? But if you change players for underperforming, that's not the process we need now. So he was very straightforward, protecting Onana publicly, but also emphasizing on evaluating every position. And it shows that he's open to upgrades across the board, but expect goalkeeper competitions this season. Not necessarily a replacement, but definitely a reinforcement. I mean, it's like it was unnecessary. Focus on the game. We're talking about the game instead of trying to stir up fire for something that already. If Amorim had said, "Okay, we need a new goalkeeper," then what does that do? Puts pressure on Onana, and then Onana now messes up. It's the truth. And they tried to set trap for Amorim, but he didn't fall for it. Right? He didn't fall for it. So then, with regards to dealing with scrutiny, Maguire was also asked about dealing with scrutiny, and according to what Harry Maguire said, he was asked about being under the spotlight, which is something that Onana is now enduring. And Maguire reflected on his own experience. He said that you just have to try your best to ignore it. Come in daily and do your best. That's all you can do. Wise words from a player who has actually endured media scrutiny and media storms for the better part of his Man United career. His response also suggests a mature, stabilizing presence in the dressing room, something that Onana will need around him this week. And it is great confidence that Ruben Amorim has shown to have put on a brave face to say, you know what, Onana is starting next in the next game, which is tomorrow. So Ruben Amorim's conversations with Onana, basically, he has had conversations with Onana, and he was asked, did you speak with Onana and all of that? He said, oh, that Ruben, so this was the question, basically. I'm just trying to quote the question from journalist. It says, Ruben, you've said you talked to the coaching staff about him. Have you spoken to him personally? And did you need that conversation to be convinced that he can come back and perform on Thursday night? I mean, I understand that everybody has fears, but Amorim, the summary of what Amorim said is that I spoke to Andre about the Newcastle decision, but sometimes what players say is what I feel, and what I feel is different. What players say and what I feel is different. I had to go with my feeling, and his feeling was basically to bench Onana. So what's the big deal? Amorim's human touch is notable. Basically, it's notable here. He's showing empathy, but also control. He's clearly trying to build trust while maintaining authority. And obviously, having spoken to him, he said he's good. I mean, you said the question they asked is, oh, but having spoken to him, you are convinced quite happily that he is good to go. And Amorim said, yeah, I have that feeling for sure. And I'm just thinking about the team. I'm not putting Andre because I think Andre deserves a return to the competition. I am just thinking about the game. It's really important for us. Basically, on a final note, basically, the Europa League semi-final spot is on the line, basically. But more importantly, so is United's European future, summer budget, and managerial credibility. Amorim and Maguire spoke with the tone of men who understand the moment. Now it's time to deliver, right? It's about delivering, in clutch moments. So that's pretty much all about Ruben Amorim's thoughts on the game pre-Lyon and how he plans to approach the game. And I believe that if Ruben Amorim can, can talk to the players to do the basics, that would help us to actually win convincingly. What are your thoughts on Ruben Amorim's press conference and how he intends to approach the game? Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you don't have to miss anything. Smash the like button so I don't miss anything as regards to Manchester United. And we can also have conversations and feature some people on the channel as we go. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Goodbye. And God bless.